Hey, what's up, guys? This is Tony Two Time, or Fabio at Harley, or Tony, whatever you want to call me. Today I'm going to be servicing my 2007 Harley Davidson Road Glide. This has a 96 cubic inch engine in it, a 6-speed Harley Davidson transmission. So on the Harley touring bikes like this, the big twins, it's a little bit different than your Sportster engine. So the oil, the transmission, and the primary are all three separate holes. Okay, so you have to service each one of them. And don't forget to service each one of them, it's very important. The products that I'm going to be using today are all down right here. Now, I'm not sponsored by Lucas, but I have ran Lucas in my 883. I ran Lucas in my CBRs, in my Gixxers. I ran Lucas in my dirt bike. I've always loved the results that Lucas full synthetic oil has given me. So, with that being said, for the primary and the engine, I'm going to be using this Lucas high performance motorcycle oil. It says engine, transmission, and primary. I'll get to what I'm putting in the transmission in a minute. But it's 20W50 synthetic. This is actually a full synthetic. And it meets or exceeds a bunch of different grades. So this is really good oil, and I've had great luck with it in the past, so I'm going to keep using it. So 3 quarts, roughly. I'm going to start with 3 quarts going into the engine with this. I'm also going to be doing a filter change. So you see here I just have a K&N filter, black with a torque nut on the end here so we can get it on and off easily. The part number for this is KN-171B. So if you want the oil filter, KN-171B. Pretty simple there. And then now for the transmission. I am going to be putting Lucas synthetic gear oil in my transmission. This is 75W140. What I ran in my transmission just recently was AMSOIL 75W90. And I really like it. It's still in a really good shape. I could probably keep going with it. I don't, because that's just how I am. I like to make sure that all my fluids are good every 5,000 miles. So this is going to be a 5,000 mile service for me. So I went with this 75W140 in the gear oil because this is perfect for the environment that you're going to find inside of a Harley Davidson transmission. They get hot, they produce a lot of friction, and they're heavy duty. So you need a good lubricant in there that's going to protect your transmission for a long time. The other thing that this lubricant is going to do for your transmission is quiet it down a bit, and hopefully keep it cooler. I went with the 75W140 because I still wanted to have a good viscosity at my cold and hot temperature. I live out here in Las Vegas, so it can get upwards to 115 degrees. So it can get really hot out here, so I want to make sure that I'm treating my transmission right. And when I used the AMSOIL 75W90, it seemed to really quiet down the transmission. I'm not sure what was in it before, but I only rode it like 500 miles when I first bought it. I bought it with like a little under 21,000 on it. And today we're sitting at 25,020 miles. So roughly about 5,000. But the reason why I'm doing the service right now at 25,000 is so I can stay in 5,000 increments. So 25,000, 30, 35,000, 40, 45,000, and so on. Process on this is actually pretty simple. You have your oil here and your transmission here. These are both your dipsticks. This is also where you're gonna fill once you get done draining. And then on the other side, primary, and we got 5 bolts that hold the primary on, and then the primary drain bolt is right underneath the primary. Here's your transmission cover, okay? And your transmission drain bolt is gonna be directly underneath that, okay, right here on the bottom of the transmission pan. So if you just go to where your transmission cover is and go right under, that's where your bolt's gonna be. Now your oil, on the other hand, you'll see this bolt here. Now if you just go straight back and a little to the right, there's gonna be a bolt that's sideways. So you're actually gonna screw it out. It'll screw out this way, okay? So the transmission bolt screws down and the oil bolt screws out sideways, and that's where your oil is gonna drain. I already have the bike heated up. I got it all the way up to 200 degrees. We're gonna open these up first. So I'm gonna start with my oil dipstick here. Now for the transmission dipstick, you're gonna get one of these, okay? This is a 3/8 Allen. And that's gonna help you get your transmission dipstick out. Now you don't have to completely pull these out, and I guess I'll kind of simulate that here. I'll just drop them back right into the top, just in case it's windy or you're doing this completely outside with no cover. You just really want to open these so it creates a vacuum for when you undo the bolts down there, and it will allow for the oil and the transmission fluid to drain a little bit easier, so it'll create an air vacuum. So let's get underneath this thing and open up those holes and get some fluid out of this bike. You're gonna need a 16 millimeter for both the engine and transmission bolts. So like I said, the transmission bolt is right here, right underneath the transmission. And since I was the last person to do this, it's not on, it's not torqued to 1,000,000 pounds. So thank you, past Tony, for not screwing over future Tony. I got some metal shavings on the end of here. There's also a little O-ring on the end of these bolts. And I bought a pack on Amazon last year when I did this for like $5, and it came with like a zillion of them. So since I have them, I'm gonna replace them, and it's always a good idea to do that anyways. Here it was, the Captain O-ring, Harley Davidson number 11105, a 50 pack of orange Captain O-rings. I'm actually gonna leave this off to the side, and we'll pull the oil bolt and let that kind of drain simultaneously here. And lefty loosey. Once again, thank you, Tony, for not having it on 1,000,000 pounds. Should be good. We could get the rest by hand. Yep. Now you got to be careful, obviously, when you heat your bike up and then go to change the fluids. It's gonna be hot. I mean, I know that sounds like an obvious statement, but be surprised. A bit of oil on the ground, not bad. Now, the one that I'm more concerned about is what the oil magnet looks like. And this one looks awesome. I'm gonna go over and pull that primary bolt. Now this one has some metal shavings on it, not as much as the transmission had. Now they're all this same bolt, to be honest. They're all the exact same size. They're all 16 millimeters, so you really could interchange them. I'm finicky like that, where I just want to put them back where they came from. So oil, primary, transmission. You want to be careful with these primary bolts, okay? You really don't want to over tighten these. The heads can snap off really easily. I left this top bolt in. That way it was easier to get all of them out without anything falling into the primary or falling into the oil pan or anything like that. So you are going to have a gasket on the back of your primary here. Mine seems to be in pretty decent shape, so I am going to reuse it. Boom. The old elbow torque there. told me that it was good. You just don't want to over torque these things. I also tightened the engine and transmission bolt. Now, Harley sells a special filler for the primary. It's like in the shape of a crescent with, you know, a little nipple down here. But if you just get a tall, thin funnel like this, there's a little notch here in the primary, and it'll fit right in that notch, and you'll be able to fill it up just fine. The primary is going to take a little over a quart of oil. Clutch is in here, so if you overfill, then your clutch could have the potential of slipping. I'm just going to clean up my primary cover a little bit. I'm going to set my gasket down right here. Just going to clean this cover up a bit. Snug. 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 And that's it. I mean, I did hand tight and then I just snugged it. Got my gear oil here, and we are just going to put the whole quart in because that's what this bike calls for. And that is some thick fluid. That's all she wrote for the transmission fluid. That's some thick stuff. Now there is a gasket on your transmission dipstick as well. Unfortunately, I don't have an extra gasket right now, so I will not be replacing it. I did replace it last time, so it is in good shape. But yes, there's a gasket that goes around the top of the transmission dipstick. This does not have to be super uber tight at all. You just want to get it on there and tighten it down. That's it. Just like that. All right, now the annoying part. Oil filter. I love having that nut on there. What does putting the oil onto the new filter do when you put on a new filter? One, it's going to create a nice tight seal to your surface for the new filter. And two, it's going to allow you to take off this filter a little bit easier when that time comes next time. So it won't be all dried and stuck on there. Take our dipstick out, put it on the ground there. We'll put our funnel in. 3 quarts is what we're going to start with, guys. Now, I bought a pack of 6. Total, this oil change cost me $100. It was like 96 bucks. I got 6 quarts of the Lucas. There's 2. And now it's really going to be 3 and some change, but I want to get 3 in there with, you know, with a filter change. It's going to be about 3 and 3 plus. So just start with 3. Start it up. Let the oil go through the filter. That's 3. So next thing we're going to do is we'll start the engine and let some of this oil go through and then see where we're at as far as oil levels. started it up, let it run a little bit. I am not dressed or cleanly enough to want to ride the bike. I don't want to get the grips and stuff all greasy. I did, however, throw some gloves on, which I forgot I had before I started this process. But the nice thing is when you throw gloves on after you do something like this, when you sweat inside gloves, it tends to pull a lot of the oil out of your skin, so you can clean them off. But anywho, the bike, before I even started the maintenance video, I fully detailed the bike. So I've been out here in the heat for about 2.5 hours now, so a little tired. But the bike's fully detailed and now fully serviced. That's doing a 3-hole maintenance service on a Harley Big V. This just so happens to be a 96-inch. If you're wondering why it sounded the way it did in the startup video, it's because it's got 555 cams in it, TMann 555 cams in it. It's got a Vance and Hines 2-in-1 Pro pipe, completely debaffled. It's got a big sucker intake on it with a giant K&N filter. It's got a Power Vision tuner on it, and it's been dynoed. So yeah, for a big fat hog, it sounds good. It'll rip around town nice. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them for me in the comments. Be nice. Other than that, ride safe. Appreciate you.